Look up at the sky right now, and you'll see the sun brilliant, warm, and reassuring. Feels eternal, doesn't it? A presence so steady that we plan our days and our lives around it. Yet, behind this illusion of permanence lies a deeper truth. The sun is a living star, and like all living stars, it has a beginning, a middle, and one day an end. The thought alone can feel unsettling, like standing at the edge of a great mystery. But that very mystery is what makes this story worth exploring. Because if the sun dies, what happens to us? And more importantly, what legacy does our star leave behind in the grand story of the universe? The journey to understanding begins with knowing where the sun stands right now. At about 4.6 billion years old, the sun is middle-aged, burning steadily through the fuel at its heart. That fuel is hydrogen, and deep within its fiery core, hydrogen atoms are fused into helium in a process called nuclear fusion. This process is the sun's heartbeat. It's what gives off the light and warmth that make life possible on Earth. Without it, our oceans would freeze, our skies would darken, and life as we know it could not exist. But here's the catch. That fuel will not last forever. One day the sun will run out of hydrogen, and when that moment comes, everything we know will begin to change. And that is where the true story of the sun's death begins. Imagine fast-forwarding billions of years into the future. The sun, which now appears as a bright yellow disk in our sky, will swell into something completely different, a red giant. It will balloon outward, growing so massive that it could swallow Mercury and Venus whole. And Earth, our home, may either be consumed by the sun's fiery surface or left just outside its reach, scorched beyond recognition. The oceans boiled away and the ground cracked into lifeless deserts. This transformation is not gentle. It is violent, breathtaking, and unstoppable. The same sun that once nurtured life will become the force that erases it. But the red giant is only the middle act of this cosmic drama. What comes after is even stranger. When the sun reaches its red giant phase, it won't be able to hold on to all of its mass. It will begin to shed its outer layers into space, casting off glowing shells of gas and dust. From a distance, an alien civilization watching with powerful telescopes might see a spectacular light show, a planetary nebula forming, like a cosmic flower blooming in the darkness. These clouds will shimmer with color, illuminated by the sun's shrinking core. It's a final, beautiful farewell, a painting across the canvas of space. But within that beauty lies something haunting. What remains at the center is no longer a star as we know it. It's a white dwarf, a small, dense ember of what once was. And here, the story of the sun takes a turn into the realm of the unimaginable. A white dwarf is unlike anything we encounter in our daily lives. It's no bigger than Earth, Yet it holds nearly the same mass as the Sun. Imagine crushing an entire star into something the size of our planet. That's the strange destiny awaiting our Sun. For trillions of years, this white dwarf will glow faintly, not from new fusion, but from the leftover heat trapped inside. Slowly it will cool. Slowly its light will fade, until eventually it becomes invisible, turning into what scientists call a black dwarf, a star that has truly died. The Sun, the heart of our solar system, will end as a cold, silent remnant floating in the dark. But what does this mean for everything that once orbited it? By then, Earth will be unrecognizable. The oceans long gone, the atmosphere stripped away, the continents melted into barren rock. Mars, the outer planets, and even their moons will also be transformed. Some may drift into frozen stillness. Others may be pushed away by the Sun's shedding mass. The solar system will no longer be the vibrant place we know today. Instead, it will be a ghost system, orbiting around the faint light of a dying core. And yet, even in this bleakness, there is a hidden beauty, because the matter shed by the Sun, the gases, the dust, the elements forged in its belly will not vanish. They will drift outward into space, eventually mixing with interstellar clouds. And in time, those clouds may collapse to form new stars, new planets, and maybe even new life. So could the death of our Sun be the birth of something else? Think about that for a moment. The atoms in your body, the carbon in your cells, the calcium in your bones, the iron in your blood. All of them were born in the hearts of stars long dead. You are made of stardust. And one day, the Sun will give back its own elements to the universe. Perhaps those atoms will one day become part of another star, or a new world, or even new forms of life. In this sense, the death of the Sun is not an ending. It is a transformation, a continuation of the cycle that has shaped the cosmos for billions of years. And that cycle has even deeper secrets still to uncover. To truly understand what awaits our Sun, we first need to step back and remember what the Sun really is. To us, it is warmth, light, and life. But in truth, the Sun is a nuclear furnace, an enormous ball of gas held together by gravity, where unimaginable pressure and temperature force atoms to fuse. Every second, the Sun fuses about 600 million tons of hydrogen into helium. This process is what releases the energy we feel as sunlight. It sounds almost violent, and in a way it is, but it is also delicate, balanced perfectly between the inward pull of gravity and the outward push of energy from fusion. Without this balance, the Sun would collapse or explode. For billions of years, it has maintained this equilibrium. But when that balance breaks, the Sun's transformation begins. Let's imagine what happens in that distant future when the Sun starts to run out of hydrogen at its core. The fusion that powers it will slow, and gravity will begin to squeeze the sun tighter. The core grows hotter until helium itself can begin to fuse into heavier elements like carbon and oxygen. This new kind of burning won't last as long as hydrogen burning did. Instead, it's a turbulent, unstable phase, like the last flickers of a candle before it goes out. The sun swells outward, becoming a red giant, its surface cooling to a deep crimson glow. From Earth, if Earth still survives, the sun would dominate the sky, its fiery body stretching across the horizon. But this vision is not peaceful, it is apocalyptic. During this red giant phase, Earth will face its greatest trial. As the sun expands, it will unleash waves of energy and stellar winds, stripping away Earth's atmosphere, boiling the oceans, and leaving behind a scorched wasteland. If the sun grows large enough, it may even engulf our planet entirely, dragging Earth's remains into its fiery body. Scientists still debate whether Earth will be consumed or narrowly escape, but either way, survival is impossible. The very star that once sustained our world will become the force of its destruction. But even destruction has a strange beauty when seen on a cosmic scale. As the sun sheds its outer layers, it creates something astonishing, a planetary nebula. Despite the name, it has nothing to do with planets. It is a vast cloud of gas, glowing with colors as ultraviolet light from the sun's exposed core illuminates the material drifting away. To a far-off observer, our solar system would transform into a cosmic lantern, shining with ethereal light. Some planetary nebulae we see today in the night sky, like the Helix Nebula or the Ring Nebula, are previews of what our sun will one day become. They are reminders that even in death, stars leave behind incredible beauty. And yet, the heart of the sun will endure far longer than its luminous shroud. At the center of that nebula, the sun's core will remain behind as a white dwarf. To imagine a white dwarf, think of compressing something the size of our sun into an object no bigger than Earth. It is so dense that a single teaspoon of its material would weigh as much as a mountain. The white dwarf will shine not from fusion, but from residual heat, slowly cooling over trillions of years. It is like a cosmic ember, glowing faintly long after the fire has burned out. Eventually, even that ember will fade, becoming a black dwarf, a star that has grown cold, silent, and invisible. But before we get there, the solar system itself will continue to change in ways we can barely imagine. With the sun losing mass as it becomes a red giant and sheds its outer layers, the orbits of the remaining planets will shift. Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune will drift outward, their paths expanding as the sun's gravity weakens. The solar system, once orderly and familiar, will stretch and scatter. Some moons may be ejected into interstellar space. Asteroids and comets may be flung on wild, unpredictable journeys. The architecture of our cosmic neighborhood will be rewritten. And yet, through this chaos, the white dwarf will sit silently at the center, a pale ghost of the star that once held everything together. But even as the sun fades, the legacy of its life will echo across the galaxy. Because here's the most profound part: the sun is a creator. Throughout its lifetime, it has fused hydrogen into helium, helium into carbon, and eventually oxygen. These are the building blocks of life as we know it. When the sun dies, it will return these elements to the universe, scattering them into space to be recycled. Somewhere, far in the future, a cloud enriched by the sun's remains may collapse under its own gravity to form a new star system. New planets may emerge, orbiting new suns, perhaps even with new life. In that way, the sun's death is not an ending but a handoff, a continuation of a cosmic cycle billions of years old. And that cycle holds mysteries far greater than the fate of one star. When we think of the sun dying, it feels deeply personal. After all, we owe our entire existence to this single star. Its light feeds the plants that feed the animals that feed us. Its energy drives the winds, the rains, and the seasons. Every breath we take, every heartbeat we feel, is powered in some way by the sun. To imagine it gone feels like imagining the loss of a parent or of a home. But the universe teaches us something different. Endings are never truly the end. They are transformations, rebirths on a scale beyond our comprehension. And in the story of the sun, there is one more secret waiting, because the death of our star is not only about destruction. It is about connection. And that connection stretches to the very atoms in our bodies. To imagine the death of the sun is also to imagine the death of time as we know it. Think about how deeply our lives are tied to this single star. The rhythm of days and nights, the changing of seasons, the blooming of flowers, and even the migrations of animals. All are guided by the sun's steady light. If the sun were to fade, that rhythm would vanish. The clock of Earth would stop ticking in the way we understand it. Day and night would no longer hold meaning. For us, this seems like the ultimate end. But for the universe, it is simply one more transition in the endless dance of stars. And that dance continues on scales of time far greater than we can comprehend. Right now, the sun is ordinary, just one among hundreds of billions of stars in the Milky Way. It is not the largest, nor the smallest. It will not end in a dramatic supernova, nor collapse into a black hole. Instead, its death will be quieter, gentler, almost modest. Yet this quiet ending is part of something grander. The stellar life cycle. Massive stars explode, scattering heavy elements into the cosmos. Smaller stars, like the sun, swell into red giants, and gently release their layers. Each star plays its role in enriching the galaxy, adding to the interstellar clouds that form new generations of suns. The sun may not die with fireworks, but its contribution will ripple outward for billions of years. And those ripples may shape futures we cannot yet imagine. Consider this: every atom in your body, your skin, your bones, your blood was once inside a star. Long before Earth was born, long before the sun ignited, older stars lived and died, scattering the elements we now carry within us. You are literally made of stardust. And one day, when the sun dies, it too will release elements that may become part of something new. Perhaps a planet orbiting a young star in another corner of the galaxy. Perhaps the chemistry of life itself in some distant world. The death of the sun is also the promise of future worlds yet unborn. But to understand how stars give birth through death, we need to look closer at the strange afterlife of a white dwarf. White dwarfs are fascinating objects. Imagine something as small as Earth but nearly as heavy as the sun, packed so tightly that matter exists in a form we can hardly imagine. It is called degenerate matter, where atoms are squeezed so closely that electrons themselves provide the pressure to keep the star from collapsing further. A white dwarf doesn't burn fuel anymore. Instead, it glows faintly, like the fading warmth of a coal left after a fire. Over time, trillions of years, it cools and darkens. No one has ever seen a black dwarf, because the universe is not old enough yet for any to exist. But in the far, far future, our sun will become one. A dead star, silent and invisible, drifting through eternity. And yet, even this haunting remnant is not the end of the story. While the sun slowly fades, the rest of the solar system will be changing. The giant planets, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, will survive, but their orbits will drift outward as the sun loses mass. Moons may be freed from their planets, wandering through space alone. Some objects may be ejected entirely, cast adrift between the stars. The Kuiper Belt and Oort cloud, reservoirs of icy bodies at the edge of our system, may scatter like dust. Our solar system, once tightly bound, will loosen and thin, dissolving into the galaxy. It will not vanish suddenly, but it will fade slowly, like a memory. And in this fading lies one of the most mysterious questions of all. What happens to us? Of course, humanity will not be around to witness this far future. Long before the sun reaches its red giant phase, Earth will already become uninhabitable. In just about 1 billion years, the sun's increasing brightness will heat Earth enough to boil away the oceans, stripping the atmosphere and turning our planet into a dry, lifeless desert. Life as we know it will not survive. But perhaps by then, intelligent beings may have left Earth behind, journeying to other stars, carrying with them the memory of the sun that gave them life. In that sense, the sun's death is not just a story of loss. It is a challenge, a question. Will we find a way to outlive our star? And that question pushes us to think beyond the earth, beyond even the sun, to the universe itself. Because when you zoom out, the death of our sun is just one note in the cosmic symphony. Stars are born, they shine, they die, and new stars take their place. Galaxies swirl with billions of suns, each at different stages of life. Some are just igniting, others are collapsing. Some are already gone, their light still streaming toward us across space. When you gaze at the night sky, you are looking at many different times all at once. The past, the present, and the future woven together in light. The death of the sun is not an isolated event. It is part of this grand tapestry. And that tapestry reveals a secret about the universe itself. It is alive with cycles. So when we ask, what happens when the sun dies? We are also asking, what is the nature of endings? For stars, endings are beginnings. A star dies, and its remains form new stars, new planets, and new possibilities. Even black holes and neutron stars, the strangest corpses of stellar death, play a role in shaping galaxies. In this light, the death of the sun is not a tragedy, but a transformation. The star that gave us life will one day give life again, in forms and places we cannot predict. The universe does not waste. It recycles endlessly. And in this recycling, there is a lesson for us too. A reminder of how deeply we are connected to the cosmos. When we think of the sun dying, it often feels like imagining the end of everything. After all, the sun has been with us since the very beginning of Earth's story. It warmed the early oceans where life first began to stir. It guided the growth of forests, the flight of birds, and the rise of civilizations. Ancient cultures worshipped it as a god, painted it in myths as a giver of life and power. In truth, those old stories were not wrong. The sun is the heartbeat of our world. And so, its death feels like the death of meaning itself. But the universe whispers a different story. Nothing truly ends. Everything changes. And it is in this change that the sun's true legacy lies. The death of the sun begins long before its final collapse. Even now, it is slowly brightening. Every 100 million years, its light grows a little stronger. That change is too small for us to notice day by day. But across geologic time, it transforms the Earth. In about 1 billion years, this gradual brightening will make Earth's climate unrecognizable. The oceans will begin to boil away, water molecules breaking apart under the heat, their hydrogen escaping into space. Without oceans, weather will stop. The water cycle will end. Earth will become a desert, a silent wasteland under a merciless sky. Life, if it still clings to the planet, will shrink to its final refuges. And this is just the prelude to the true finale. As the sun runs out of fuel and expands into a red giant, the apocalypse deepens. Imagine standing on a future Earth, if it still exists, and looking up to see a sun so enormous it fills half the sky. The heat would be unimaginable. Mountains would glow red with molten rock. Oceans of lava would stretch across the land. The atmosphere would be torn away, leaving the planet naked to the raging star above. From space, Earth would look like a glowing ember, another rock consumed by its own parent. Yet, for all its horror, this stage also carries a strange kind of beauty. It is the sun's grand gesture, its final performance as a true star. But every performance, no matter how spectacular, eventually comes to a close. When the red giant can no longer sustain itself, the sun will begin to cast away its outer layers in great waves. These layers will drift outward, glowing in the light of the shrinking core. From afar, it will look like a flower unfolding, petals of gas and dust spreading into the galaxy. Astronomers call this a planetary nebula, and even though the name is misleading, the sight is unforgettable. Our sun, once an ordinary yellow star, will become a luminous ghost lantern in space, shining briefly before fading. Some distant future species, watching from another star system, might gaze at that nebula with awe, not knowing it was once the sun that gave life to a small, blue planet. But for those who know, it will be a breathtaking farewell. At the heart of this nebula will remain the core, the white dwarf. Picture something the size of Earth but with the weight of the sun, so dense that its matter is almost beyond comprehension. It will no longer burn with fusion, but it will shine faintly for trillions of years, slowly cooling, slowly fading. Around it, the nebula will disperse into the galaxy, carrying with it the ingredients of new stars, new planets, and perhaps even new life. The white dwarf will sit silently at the center, a final relic, a monument to billions of years of light and warmth. But even relics have destinies beyond what we imagine. Over unimaginable spans of time, the white dwarf will darken. No light, no heat, no fire, only silence. It will become a black dwarf, invisible against the darkness of space. No one knows what the universe will be like then, because the cosmos itself may change in ways we cannot yet predict. Galaxies may collide, stars may fade, and even the expansion of the universe may carry everything further apart. Yet through it all, the sun's remains will drift on, quiet and eternal. And in this thought, we begin to see a reflection of our own place in the story of time. Because the sun's death reminds us of something profound. Nothing we know is permanent. Worlds rise and fall. Stars ignite and fade. Even galaxies will one day scatter. And yet, Within that impermanence lies a deep truth. Every end gives rise to something new. When stars die, their remains enrich the universe with heavy elements. Without the death of ancient stars, there would be no earth, no oceans, no forests, and no us. We exist only because of endings. In this sense, the death of the sun is not only inevitable, it is necessary. And perhaps, just perhaps, it is beautiful. Think of it this way. When you feel the sunlight on your skin, you are touching the product of fusion reactions deep inside the sun's core. That light has traveled for 8 minutes across space to reach you. It is ancient energy, born in a fiery heart, given freely to the world. One day that light will cease, but in its lifetime, it will have seeded countless futures. Maybe humanity will one day leave Earth, traveling to new stars, carrying with them the memory of the sun. Maybe life from Earth will seed other worlds, spreading across the galaxy, a living legacy of a dying star. The sun's death, then, is not just about the loss of a star. It is about the continuation of life, carried forward on cosmic winds. And the greatest mystery is what comes after us. The death of the sun feels distant, so distant, in fact, that it exists on a timescale almost too vast for us to imagine. 5 billion years is longer than the age of Earth itself. By the time the sun swells into a red giant, the continents will have drifted into new shapes, mountains will have risen and eroded away, and entire species will have come and gone. From our perspective, it may seem like forever, but for the universe, 5 billion years is just another heartbeat. And in that heartbeat, the fate of our star will be sealed. But what does this mean for us, right now, as we live under the sun's steady glow? In one sense, it means gratitude. Every sunrise you witness, every warm day, every golden evening sky, that is a gift, a moment in the life of a star. The sun is not eternal, but that is what makes it precious. Its light nourishes us today, and in that light lies a reminder of impermanence. Just as flowers bloom and fade, just as seasons turn, so too does the sun have a cycle of life. When we understand this, the sunlight feels different. It becomes not just ordinary daylight, but a cosmic inheritance. And what we do with this inheritance will shape our story. Because the sun's eventual death poses a challenge. Will we, as a species, outlive our star? If humanity continues to grow, if we explore, if we travel beyond Earth, then perhaps the sun's fading will not be our end. Perhaps by then, we will have learned to build homes around other stars, to create life on other planets, to carry the essence of Earth across the galaxy. The sun's death, then, is not a warning of doom, but a call to move outward, to expand, to endure. And in this possibility lies hope for a future far greater than we can yet see. Still, there is another way to look at it, one that is quieter, more personal. The death of the sun reminds us that all things, no matter how grand, must one day come to an end. Stars, planets, galaxies, even the universe itself, all are temporary. But impermanence does not mean emptiness. It means transformation. The sun will not vanish into nothingness. It will become part of new stars, new worlds, new possibilities. In the same way, our lives, brief as they are, contribute to a larger story. We are part of the same cycle of creation and renewal. And when we see ourselves as part of this cycle, even endings begin to feel like beginnings. Imagine, for a moment, that distant future when the sun has faded into a black dwarf, invisible in the darkness. Perhaps by then the galaxy has changed beyond recognition. New stars burn where old ones died. New civilizations may rise, born from elements once forged in our sun. And somewhere in that vast future, someone may look into the night sky, unaware that their world carries atoms that once belonged to our star. They will not know us, nor Earth, nor the stories of humanity, but they will carry a piece of the sun within them, and in that way the sun will never truly be gone. This is the great paradox of the universe. Everything ends, yet nothing is ever lost. Energy transforms, matter recycles, stories continue in new forms. Our sun will die, but its light will live on in the atoms it leaves behind, in the memories of the worlds it warmed, and perhaps in the journeys of beings it helped to create. And we, too, are part of this paradox. Our lives are fleeting, but the stardust that makes us will endure, drifting across space, waiting to be reborn. And so, the death of the sun is not just the story of a star, it is the story of us. So tonight, when you look at the stars, let the thought settle gently in your mind. You are made of the same matter that fuels them. The sun shines not only in the sky but within you. One day, it will fade, but its legacy will continue in the universe and in everything touched by its light. And if this story of endings and beginnings has carried you into a place of wonder, let it also carry you into connection. Because in this vast cosmos, we are not separate from the stars, we are their children. And remembering this may be the greatest comfort of all. And now, as we bring this journey to a close, I invite you to take a deep breath, feel the warmth of the sun within you, and let that thought drift with you into rest. If you've enjoyed wandering through this cosmic story with me tonight, consider supporting by liking this video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing it with someone who also wonders about the mysteries of the universe. Each small gesture helps us continue telling these stories, weaving together science and serenity. For now, though, let the stars be your guide. Let the sun's light linger in your mind, and remember, Every ending is only the beginning of something new.